Can you feel it? That subtle shift in the air, in your conversations, in the way your thoughts are landing lately, like a breeze that's lost its urgency, like words that no longer want to move fast, but instead want to mean something deeper. We're reaching the end of Mercury's journey through Gemini, and the cosmos is preparing for a major recalibration. This isn't just about a planet changing signs. It's about how all of us, collectively, are about to shift how we think, speak, and connect. There's a palpable sense of anticipation, and if you're tuned in even slightly, you already feel it. Mercury, the planet of the mind, language, logic, and information, is finishing its fast-footed dance in its home sign of Gemini. For weeks now, we've been living in a world of words, lively conversations, mental stimulation, texts flying back and forth, ideas stacking on top of ideas, rapid thoughts firing like electrical sparks. It's been cerebral, curious, and for some, exhausting. In Gemini, Mercury is agile, clever, sometimes scattered, but always moving. And when Mercury's in Gemini, we're all operating from the head. But that's about to change. Mercury is preparing to cross the threshold into Cancer, and when it does, the center of gravity shifts from the mind to the heart. This is more than a change in communication style. It's an invitation to feel our way through conversations, to listen with the heart, to speak with emotion, to allow vulnerability to shape the words we say and how we say them. This transition is delicate, and its timing is critical. The hours and days before Mercury leaves Gemini are sacred. It's a cosmic liminal space, a portal of mental clarity before the waters of emotion flood in. You might notice it already. Conversations feel a little more hollow, or maybe your inner dialogue is becoming repetitive. Logic alone may not be cutting it anymore. That's your cue. That's the soul whisper, signaling that it's time to descend from the intellect into the realm of feeling. There's an urgency to this transition, not because it's harsh, but because it requires your attention. If you continue to operate from the mind while the universe begins speaking in emotional language, you'll miss the message, or worse, you'll misinterpret it. This is the time to pause, to listen not just with your ears, but with your gut, your chest, your intuition. Mercury in Cancer is storytelling, not statistics. It's memories, not metrics. It's the soft-spoken truth that carries weight because it comes from within. Once this shift begins, our collective conversations will gain a new texture, one that is gentle but not weak, tender but not vague. Emotional intelligence will take the driver's seat, and surface-level chatter will no longer satisfy. If you felt mentally burnt out, foggy, or even uninterested in the things that lit you up just a week ago, it's not regression, it's realignment. The intellect has done its job. Now it's time for the emotional body to take over and carry the insights deeper, into places logic can't reach. As we prepare for this transit, it's important to honor both energies. We are not replacing thinking with feeling. We are integrating them. What you've learned during Mercury and Gemini matters. Those insights, ideas, and dialogues have a role to play, but they need to be digested emotionally. They need to be softened, given meaning, and allowed to touch the soul. This is a collective update. It affects all of us, from how we talk to our partners and friends to how we parent, create, and reflect. We're moving into a time where sensitivity is a strength and guardedness becomes an obstacle. The cosmic invitation here is to prepare, not by doing more, but by attuning more, by noticing, by being with yourself in silence and observing what comes up when you stop trying to explain and start trying to feel. In the next part, we'll explore how you can actively prepare for this shift, practices that ground you in this emerging emotional language and help you align with the new rhythm Mercury is introducing. It's not about perfection, it's about presence, and your willingness to meet this moment matters. Now that we've felt the shift beginning, let's talk about how to work with it, how to prepare, align, and soften your internal pace so you don't get caught off guard when Mercury makes its move into Cancer. This isn't a warning, it's an invitation. An invitation to adjust the way you hold your own thoughts and how you carry them into the world. Because here's the truth. When Mercury enters Cancer, words begin to carry more weight. Not because they're more complicated, but because they're more felt. Tone, mood, and intent suddenly matter as much, if not more, than the actual words you use. You can say all the right things, but if they're not emotionally honest, people will feel the disconnect. The collective is stepping into a more sensitive, intuitive mental space. And if you're not grounded in your emotional truth, you may find yourself misunderstood or misunderstanding others. So how do you prepare for this? There are a few ways to work with this transition consciously. These are not chores or spiritual to-do items. These are practices that create emotional clarity and allow your mind and heart to walk side by side as we cross this astrological threshold. First, begin journaling your feelings, not your thoughts. We often write to make sense of things, to categorize or analyze, but try this. Write just to feel. No filters, no overthinking. Let your emotional responses lead the pen. What's been stirring under the surface lately? What conversations felt sharp? Which ones felt nourishing? Which memories keep resurfacing? And why do you think they're showing up now? When Mercury moves into Cancer, those emotions will rise whether you're ready or not. So give them somewhere safe to land now. A journal becomes a sacred container to process before you speak, so your words later come from a place of clarity, not confusion. Second, practice speaking with compassion. That doesn't just mean being nice. It means speaking with the emotional content of your heart, not around it. Mercury in Cancer rewards vulnerability. This energy supports saying things like, "That hurt me. I need more support. I don't feel safe." Or even, "I miss you." These are the kinds of phrases that begin to feel natural under Cancer's guidance, but they require bravery. Now is the time to start finding those words within yourself. Try them out in small ways. Speak gently but truthfully. Speak with care, and notice how others respond when your tone carries empathy instead of logic. And finally, reflect on what your mind has learned, and ask your heart how it wants to carry those lessons forward. Mercury in Gemini gathered the facts. It observed, listened, questioned. But now it's time to ask, what mattered? What information actually shifted something inside you? What stories did you hear that lingered, and why? The mind collects the puzzle pieces, but the heart arranges them into meaning. This shift is about translating data into emotional resonance. There's also something deeply spiritual about choosing to slow down mentally in a world that urges you to think faster. When Mercury prepares to enter Cancer, the invitation is not just to slow your thoughts, it's to sanctify them, to see your inner dialogue as more than thinking, to treat it as communion with your soul. And that requires stillness, spaciousness, mercy. You may feel called to cleanse your mental space. This could mean a digital detox, a break from certain conversations, or even a few days of intentional silence. You might feel overstimulated or unmotivated. That's not laziness, it's Mercury easing up so it can enter a more receptive, emotional state. Don't fight that. Use it. Embrace moments of internal quiet as sacred pauses where you prepare to receive a new language, one that speaks through empathy, memory, and care. Let's go a little deeper now. The throat chakra and the heart chakra are about to realign. When Mercury moves into Cancer, you're not just thinking differently. You're being asked to speak from a different place in your body. Less from the head, more from the chest. And that alignment can feel like emotional release, or even emotional discomfort. Words that used to feel easy may now stick. Words you've never dared to say may begin to rise. You are being energetically recalibrated to speak with feeling, and that is powerful work. Mercury in Cancer asks you to check in with your emotional truth before you speak. It's no longer just, what do I think about this? It becomes, how do I feel about this? And can I express that with care? If your words are disconnected from your emotional state, communication becomes hollow. But if you're willing to speak from the heart, even when it's messy or uncertain, you will find others are more open, more gentle, and more present in return. Now that you've begun tuning into the subtler shifts through journaling, compassion, and emotional reflection, let's take a pause and acknowledge something important. This isn't just preparation, it's initiation. You're not simply getting ready for Mercury in Cancer. You're already entering it. Every time you slow your thoughts, every time you feel instead of analyze, every time you choose presence over performance, you're stepping into the emotional field Mercury is bringing online. This is the threshold moment. It's quiet but alive, and it's asking for integration. One of the most overlooked parts of energetic transitions is what happens between the extremes. Between the fast mind of Gemini and the deep feeling of Cancer, there's a liminal space, a sacred fog, where the logical structure of the mind begins to dissolve and the first emotional impressions begin to rise. This is a time when old conversations may echo, when you may replay something someone said days or even years ago. Not because you need to solve it, but because your heart is finally ready to feel it. Let those moments come. Let them wash over you. These are soul fragments returning. These are the energetic leftovers of what your mind previously bypassed. You may not need to do anything with them, but don't ignore them. Let them teach you. During this in-between phase, you may also notice physical sensitivity, tightness in the throat, ache in the chest, a sudden wave of tiredness after a simple conversation. This is your emotional body attuning to new frequencies. Your nervous system is learning how to hold more feeling, more nuance, more softness. Use this time to simplify, strip down your language. Speak only what's true. If something feels unclear, don't rush to define it. Sit with it. Let it speak to you in dreams, sensations, or images. Mercury in Cancer speaks in symbols, not spreadsheets. Also, notice how you listen. The quality of your attention matters now. Listening just to respond won't work anymore. You must listen to understand, to hold space, to let someone else be fully real in your presence. That's part of the shift too. Becoming emotionally safe for others. Being a vessel for connection, not a mirror for competition. As Mercury prepares to cross into Cancer, the spiritual invitation deepens. This final part isn't just about preparing your mind or adjusting your language. It's about opening yourself to be seen in new ways, emotionally seen, spiritually seen, and most importantly, self-seen. Mercury in Cancer brings a tide of emotional truth that touches our relationships in powerful ways. If Mercury in Gemini encourage wide-ranging connection, Mercury in Cancer asks for closeness. Not more conversations, but more meaningful ones. Not louder voices, but quieter, deeper exchanges. This is the energy of sitting with someone and saying what you've never dared to say before, or finally hearing what someone else couldn't express until now. During this time, your inner child becomes part of the conversation, whether you're conscious of it or not. Cancer rules the past, the home, the early emotional landscape of your life. When Mercury moves through this sign, the way you speak and think may be influenced by old emotional patterns, old wounds, family memories, nostalgia. Don't be surprised if you find yourself thinking in then instead of now. This isn't regression, it's remembrance. Your inner child is asking to speak up, to have a voice. to bring forward emotions that were silenced, ignored, or misunderstood. So when you notice a surge of emotion, when tears come easily or defensiveness spikes out of nowhere, pause. Ask yourself, who in me is speaking right now? Is it the adult self, or is it the younger version of me finally finding words? Mercury in Cancer gives voice to the inner child, the inner mother, the nurturer within. Make space for them. This energy can be deeply healing, but only if you allow softness to replace the armor. If someone opens up to you during this time, know that it's sacred. They may be speaking from a place they've hidden for years, so listen differently. Listen with your full body. Let their words land not just in your mind, but in your chest. And when it's your turn to speak, do so with emotional accountability. Mercury in Cancer asks us to speak not just our truth, but to also consider how our truth impacts the hearts of others. On a spiritual level, this transit reconnects us with intuition, true embodied knowing. You may notice that your dreams become more vivid, your gut feelings more accurate, your memories more emotionally charged. All of this is part of Mercury swimming through water. You're being asked to stop calculating and start sensing. Not every decision can or should be justified logically during this time. Let your emotional compass guide you. And for those of you doing spiritual work, whether through prayer, ritual, meditation, or creative expression, this is a time when Spirit speaks not in words but in waves. You may receive messages through feeling, through symbols, through the hush between thoughts. Give yourself silence. Give yourself stillness. The quieter you become, the more clearly you'll hear. There is nothing superficial about Mercury in Cancer. It strips back pretense. It makes surface-level communication uncomfortable and unrewarding. That can be disorienting at first. You might feel like people are suddenly more sensitive, or that conversations veer off course. But this is the course. This is the path. A return to emotional truth, a return to the language of the soul. So in these final moments before the shift, bless your mind for all it's done. Thank it for navigating Mercury and Gemini with curiosity and clarity. And now open the door to your heart. Invite your feelings to the table. Begin practicing what it means to speak, not just to be heard, but to be felt. This is your preparation. This is the soul's work of the moment. Let Mercury's passage into Cancer be a gentle turning point in your own spiritual communication. Speak less, feel more. Slow down your words, replace judgment with compassion. Let your conversations nourish and heal, not just inform. This is how you stay in harmony with the cosmos. Thank you for being on this journey with me. You're not just watching the skies, you're living in rhythm with them. If this message resonated, support the channel by liking and subscribing to Fast Lane to Freedom. Stay tuned for more collective energy updates as we continue navigating the stars together.